Hi guys, it's Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I just ran out of breath trying to hold all those books for the thumbnail. Today's video is going to be my April reading wrap up. For transparency's sake, today is April 20th, so I still have about 10 days left. I could probably get in another one book for sure, maybe even two. But there's just so many books. There's 18 books that I want to talk to you guys about. And so I'm just going to call it quits now for the month and film the wrap up now and let you guys, whatever I read the remainder of the month, I'll just squeeze that into May. The reason why I read so many books in April, thankfully I got caught up with my reading challenge, and I am now, I think it said I was like 8 or 9 books over my reading challenge. Like, the reason being, like I was saying, that I was able to read so much. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I decided to just tackle all the books in my TBR shelf that I can have access through on audiobook, either through Script, which I am subscribed to, or my public library. And so I decided to just tackle those books first. That way I can listen to them, multitask while I'm listening to them, and then I'm able to listen to them at twice the speed. Some of them, even this month, I was able to listen at 2.5 times the speed, just because I've been listening to so many audiobooks that my ear can really like auto-tune, I guess, the speed. And it doesn't feel like someone's like, you know, sometimes when you speed something up, it's so fast that you can't even discern what the person is saying. I've been listening to so many audiobooks that my ear has tuned the language, I guess you can say. Also, I got sick at the end of March, first week of April, and the medications that they put me on for the COVID gave me really bad insomnia, like really bad. I was getting like two and a half hours of sleep a night. It's weird because I wasn't feeling tired throughout the day, even though I wasn't sleeping. I was not able to sleep. So at night I would grab one of the books and listen to the audiobook and follow along, and that's how I was able to get through 18 books this month. I don't know how May's gonna look like, but I'm glad that I got a good chunk of that pile through the month of April. So this is the longest intro in the world. Let's just get started. In no particular order, I just have them on a stack from smallest to biggest book. So I'm going to start. So the first book that I have here, or the first two, are part of a series. I read books 2 and 3 of the Cupcake Bakery Mystery series from Jen McKinley. You guys know, if you followed me for a while, I love the A Library Murders Mystery series from Jen McKinley. I think I am on book 11 or 12 of that series. They're all on mass market paperbacks, which I love. I don't know why, I just love them. And they're cozy mysteries. And a while back, I picked up the first book in the bakery, Cupcake Bakery Mystery series, and I really enjoyed it. And I've been accumulating several books. And so I read books 2 and 3. And book 2 is Buttercream Bump Off. And in this book, we follow our main character, Melanie's mom, who decided to go on a blind date. And her blind date ends up being murdered. And so now, of course, the mom becomes a suspect in the murder of this man. And so Melanie and her friends try to figure out what's going on and try to solve the mystery of this man that was murdered on her mom's date. So it was really fun. They're easy, cozy reads, really interesting. I think I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And then Death by the Dozen is book 3. In this book, we follow Melanie, who tries to enter into this bakery bake-off type contest, and one of the judges turns out dead. And so now we're trying to find out what happened to this judge that got axed before the competition even started. So I like these books because they have recipes towards the end, and even the library murder mystery books, they have recipes at the end. So I've never tried any of these recipes at the end, but I'm sure it would be nice. It's a nice touch to have recipes. So I really did enjoy these 2 books. I think I gave both of them 4 stars. Then I read a classic, Animal Farm by George Orwell. This is a tiny little book. It took me no time to get through this one. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows what this book is about. We follow about, it's basically, I think it's trying to do a parallel, a satire, I don't know what the right word is, of the Soviet Revolution. And basically you have these people who set up this animal farm in order to protect and make things better for the animals. But before you know it, as anything that happens in the world, something that somebody creates for the good of people, eventually they turn out to be kind of like villains themselves, because they're trying to escape, you know, a tyrant communist person, and then the leader of this safe haven for these people turns out to be a tyrant themselves. So not just because something is good, seemingly good at the beginning, doesn't mean that it has the best intentions for people. And I think that's what this is trying to tell. I enjoyed it. I can see what the hype was about. And I'm glad that I'm kind of getting through these classics that I never really read in school before. I think I gave it 3 or 4 stars. I can't remember. It's been a lot. It's been a lot of books. Then I have here The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I did really enjoy this. This is a book that's very popular on book talk. I don't have TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but I think on Bookstagram and Book Talk, like, this has been hyped up really a lot. I do have the second one, Love in the Brain. I don't have the audiobook for that one, but and I think there's like 4 other ones. But anyway, I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it 4 stars. The only reason why I didn't give it 5 stars because our main character, what is her name, Olive, I found her a little bit annoying. Even when this starts like a fake dating trope. This is a story of fake dating, in which both parties have some sort of are benefiting from their fake dating. Eventually they both catch feelings for each other, but Olive is like, she tries so hard to convince herself that he's not into her, even though he's like telling her he is. So I found that a little bit annoying. But overall, I did enjoy this book. I got through it really fast. I listened to this while I was out on my bike, and I had a lot of fun. I'm more than happy to continue on with this. I don't think it's a series, but I guess there are like the stories. I guess you will find characters from other books in the further books in the series. I guess they're all companion books, I should say. That's the word I'm trying to talk about. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. The next book I have here is From Scratch by Tambi Lucky. Lucky? I think that's how you say her name. This is a memoir. This is my nonfiction book pick for the month. I actually read 2 nonfiction books this month. But I had watched the series on Netflix by the same name, From Scratch, and I loved it. It's with Zoe Saldana. And basically it's based on a true story, this story right here of, what is her name? Tambi, and her husband Saro, which she met during a gap year in Italy. Her family wanted her to be like go straight to college and had different plans for her, but she went to Italy and she met her husband and they fell in love, and to the not so much enjoyment of her family, they got married. He ends up dying due to cancer. That's not a spoiler. And so we follow her life from meeting him, falling in love, getting married, getting the diagnosis, going through the treatments, and then going through his death and the mourning of his death by going to Italy and doing like all the traditional Italian things that people do during mourning. So I enjoyed it, and I shouldn't, but I enjoyed the show better. Obviously in the show they play up things a little bit more to tug at your feelings. I cried so much during the show, and so I guess as I was reading this, I was picturing the show, and I was like, well, that's not how it happened in the show. But I had to remind myself that the show was inspired by this, that this is the true story, not the show. So I think having watched the show first kind of took away from the enjoyment. I only gave it 3 stars because I feel like I kept comparing it to the show. Still, it's a great book. I think if you haven't watched the show, I think it's worth the read and then watch the show. Or if you just want to know what this is about, just watch the show if you don't want to read this. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I do still recommend. Next, I read a whole series. It's a trilogy. And these are the books. We have Polaris Rising, we have Aurora Blazing, and we have Chaos Reigning. And these are by, what is her name? Jessie Mahalik. And in this book, this series I gave a like 3.5. This is a sci-fi romance series, which I was not expecting the romance. I thought it was more like a sci-fi high stakes action driven series. But anyway, we follow, I don't know if it's like a trilogy. It's one big story, but we follow a different main character within the same series, kind of, sort of. In this first book, we follow, what's her name? Ada, who is trying to escape an arranged political marriage. She's trying to escape, and she gets captured, and she gets thrown in jail, and she strikes up a deal with another prisoner that she meets while she's imprisoned, and they're trying to escape this. Everything's in space, okay? So this is like a big like space station that they're trapped in, and they're trying to escape via a ship, I guess, a spaceship onto another planet. This one was my least favorite of these two, just because, I don't know if it's because of the narrator. The narrator speaks with such a like a deep sultry voice, and it sounds just fake. So it took me, I had to restart the audiobook like 3 times, and I had to follow along. This is one of the books that I was reading at like 1 in the morning, following along, because I couldn't just listen to it, because I would tune it out because I didn't care for the narrator's voice. So I think that took away from the enjoyment of listening to this story. However, when I got to books 2 and 3, Aurora Blazing and Chaos Reigning, I don't know if it was just a better story, or that I was used to her tone of voice, that I was able to just listen to the books without having to read along like I did with Polaris Racing. So that was the plot of this one. On the second book, we follow, what is her name? Bianca, who is already married. You know, she has had her arranged marriage for political reasons, and her husband has died. So this one is a little bit more political, because now that her husband has died, she has kind of like less power. Like she's kind of like lost her value as a woman, because now her husband's gone. There's no like, I guess, value to her. So what she's trying to do is trying to, I guess, rebel against this like political construct that women are only valuable through marriage, kind of like in the 1600s, when women were pawned off and married off just to build political alliances. She's trying to fight against that in this book. And again, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's because the story overall was better, or I had just gotten used to the narrator's voice. And then in this last one, Chaos Reigning, we follow the other sister, Catherine. And what happened to Catherine? Oh yes, I remember. She's kind of viewed as like this ditzy, bubbly type person who people really don't respect her, but she's actually a spy for all the stuff that's going on in these other books. And so we follow her and her trying to spy on the rebellion. This series, like I said, the last 2 books were pretty fun, pretty nice to read. However, the romance was kind of cheesy. Like I felt like the romantic moments came like out of nowhere, and they were really intense, and I was like, how is this so intense when like 2 pages ago like there was like nothing romantic going on? It just seems like the scenes were thrown in there for plot purposes, but there was really like no need for them, I feel like. So like I said, I give it like a 3.5 stars. This series was fine, but not my favorite. I wouldn't necessarily recommend them. Then I have Never Have I Ever by Jocelyn Jackson. This is a mystery thriller book. We follow a group of women who get together, and they have this little book club, and then they invite this brand new neighbor that moved into town. However, this neighbor seems to know one of our book club members a little bit more than she is let on, and she turns out to be not the nicest person that she seems to be. and I really enjoyed it. I didn't see the twist coming. However, I didn't think it was the best twist that there has been out there. I thought this book was just fine. A whole lot of build up happened for a reveal that was not as satisfactory as I would have hoped it was, but this is still fine. It was a pretty easy read, and it was a nice, like, light mystery thriller type story. If you enjoy those books, I think you would enjoy it. However, I only gave it 3 stars. Then the last book I actually read, I just finished this yesterday, was Home Before Dark by Rayleigh Sager. I really enjoy all the books that Rayleigh has. Is really a man or a woman? I don't know. But I've enjoyed all the books that I've read by them. And in this book, this is a mystery thriller book, and we follow 2 timelines. We follow our main character, what's her name? Maggie, who has inherited a house that she grew up in, but she used to grow up, she was growing up in this house, but then when she was young, they left the house. And now that her dad died, she inherited the house. So she's trying to go back to the house and find out how come they left this house when she was young. But we follow a dual timeline from when she was younger. And we follow, it's kind of like from her dad's point of view. And so we're trying to figure out through the dad's, I guess, retelling of their life at that time there, what happened and why they left that house. It kind of has sort of a murder mystery / haunted house vibe to it. Really enjoyed it. I did not see the twist at the end coming, which I love when that happens. Though I will say I rarely figure out when the thing happens. But this is probably my favorite book that I've read by Rayleigh Sager. I do have, I think, 1 more. But I have 2 of his or her books that I've read that I haven't read, but I own 1 of them. So can't wait to get into that other one. I think I gave this 4 stars. Then I have John Dies at the End by David Wong, which I cannot tell you guys what this book is about because I really didn't quite understand it myself. Apparently this is a movie. I have never even heard of the movie, but in this book we follow David and his friend John, those aren't really even their real names, they're aliases, because they are witnesses to some sort of weird stuff going on. I think it's best if you go into this book not knowing exactly what this book is about, just because there's like, even within the story, there's like things that are redacted, and there's like time jumps. There's just a bunch of weird stuff going on. So I had a fun time because this book kept me saying, what the heck is happening? Like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand. So yeah, this is probably the worst way to describe this book, but I don't know how to describe it because it was a weird book. I had a fun time reading it. I think I gave it 4 stars, but it's just weird. And John dies at the end. Then I started reading Throne of Glass series, finally, by Sarah J. Maas. I do own all the books, and my public library finally got them all acquired. Unfortunately, because it's a popular series, there's a bunch of her books that are placed on hold, so I couldn't really marathon the series like I had originally intended to, but I was able to get through the first 3. I haven't moved on to book 4 because I have The Assassin's Blade on hold, and I should get it within this next week. So I am trying to read them in order, but I read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire, and I really enjoyed this series. I'm not going to talk about what these books are about. I'm going to wait until I read the last book and review the series as a whole. Just know that I got through the first 3 books in April. Then I read a graphic novel, Anyas Ghost by Vera Broskol. And this is a graphic novel, like I said. And in this book, we follow Anya, who is kind of like annoyed with her life. She comes from Russia, I think, or one of those Eastern European countries. And she kind of like hates her life. She's really shy, and she just kind of hates the fact that she's an immigrant, you know? And something happens that she falls into this well and there's a dead body in there, and then the ghost kind of imprints on her, and the ghost is trying to like help her get out there, it starts making her more popular and more outgoing, and she thinks this is the best thing that ever happened to me. But like with George Orwell's book in Animal Farm, something that seems good at the beginning turns out to be like your worst nightmare at the end. So she's trying to get rid of the ghost because the ghost is not as friendly and as nice as she seemed to be at the beginning. It was really nice. It was really fun to read. I got through it super fast, and I recommend it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Then my second memoir that I read this month, my nonfiction, was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And I have no idea who she is. I am way too old to have watched, I believe, iCarly on Nickelodeon, which is the show that I think she was in. But I've seen this book everywhere, and everybody enjoys this book. And so I saw it on Book Outlet one time, and I decided to pick it up. This book, we follow basically how Jeanette grew up in the industry, the struggle that she went through trying to make it as an actor, and all the emotional abuse that she went through with her mom, trying to make sure that she became famous. And then after her mom died, everything, the repercussion, everything, she comes to terms with realizing how badly her mom treated her. It was a good memoir. However, this has like super short chapters. I think there's 90 chapters in this book. The chapters are like 2-3 pages long, 91 chapters. And it's like, they're like 2-3 pages long. So that's kind of weird. But yeah, it's a good memoir. I would recommend people to read it, even if you don't know who she is. But it was interesting to learn about her life. Then I finished another series, which is very nice. I've been talking too long and getting stuff in the corners of my eyes and my mouth. Anyway, Supernova by Marissa Mayer. This is the last book in the Renegades series. The first book was Renegades and the second book was Arch Nemesis. I was looking at my Goodreads. I read those first books 1 and 2 in 2019, you guys. 2019. It's 2023. It took me that long to finally get into the second book, to the last book. I had to go on YouTube and kind of look up synopsises and book reviews on books 1 and 2, just kind of to refresh my mind on what happened in those books. And once I picked up this book, I was sucked into the world immediately. It's like I had just read them not too long ago, and I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, or 4.5 stars, something like way up there. It was a nice conclusion to the series. Renegades, we basically follow this world in which superheroes are real, and there's a group of people trying to I guess destroy the superheroes because they believe that they're not doing enough to help people, and they feel like it's all a sham. So I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a very satisfying ending to the series, and I would like to marathon that series in the future, just because I feel like I would enjoy it even more. And then last but not least, the first book that I read out of this big chunk of books is The Ink Black Heart by Robert Galbraith. Now, I had purchased this via Book Outlet, and they accidentally sent me the large print edition. So this book is huge. As it is, the books from Robert Galbraith are fairly lengthy, but this is about 1,500 pages, and it's those like Bible thin pages. And so I did contact them, and I was like, it's happened before where I accidentally purchased a book that's the large print edition, but when I went back to the invoice, it was the regular edition. So they sent me the large print by mistake. Unfortunately, the regular edition was no longer available, so they did credit me back what I paid for this book. And they said to keep the book, donate it if you don't want it, do whatever you want with it. So I am going to put this in the box of my books to donate to my used bookstore. And then whenever I can get my hands on the regular edition, because I do have all of the books from The Cuckoo's Calling all the way to this one. This is the 6th book. And the books are pretty big. They tend to be about this big, but I mean, this guy is like super massive. Anyway, in this book we follow our detective. What is his name? I already forgot. Cormoran Strike. I should have remembered that. We follow Cormoran Strike and his, I don't want to say sidekick, Robin, but there's a girl that works for him. His name is Robin. And we follow them trying to solve this almost hit myself, murder type mystery crime that happened. We follow the Ink Black Heart, which is a kind of like an underground society type on the gaming community on YouTube. And there's been a crime, that happened, and they're trying to solve it. And we're following, this is kind of like a high-tech detective story, because we're having to go into the world of YouTube and the algorithm and the IP addresses that are showing up somewhere and like all that stuff. It's really, really good. Sometimes I always question like why these books are so lengthy, because I'm like, where is this part of the story going? But every time, it never fails. At the end of the book, all these like seamless, pointless plot lines throughout the beginning of the book, they always connect at the end somehow. So it may start off slowly, it may feel like it's a little lengthy, but trust me, the payoff is always good at the end. I highly recommend the books from Robert Galbraith. If you didn't know, this is pen name for J.K. Rowling. I haven't read The Cuckoo's, The Cuckoo's Calling. There was another one, the very first book, something Vacancy. I can't remember. I haven't read that one. But these series from Cormoran Strike, really, really enjoy them. There's a little bit of romance going on between him and Robin, but Cormoran is an older man who is kind of sick, has not the best shape physically because he's ill, whereas Robin is a much younger girl, and you can feel like the sexual tension, in between them. But him feeling that he's not good enough for her and him pulling away. She still dates and stuff and goes, has her own life. But like the sexual chemistry that they have and the tension that there's in there from these two characters, like nothing ever happens, but like you can feel it, but it's satisfying enough. So anyway, that's this one. And that is it, guys. That's everything I read in the month of April. I will see how many more books I can squeeze through at the end. I have started reading this book right here. It's a mass market paperback, and it is My Last Year in Havana. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm barely on chapter 2. Like I just barely started reading it. So that's it. That's all I have for now. Follow me on Goodreads if you guys want to know what I'm reading and the actual rating that I give these books, because there's so many that I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry for the super long video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.